I'm going to give you 3 tips of how to start making beautiful visual effects today. So these 3 tips basically come down to things that you need to find. The first thing you want to find is your library. Think of this as a vast amount of information stored in your brain. And the way that you build that library is kind of broken down into a few different methods. The first method is brain and hand connection. You need to be drawing the things that want to go into your library. So essentially this comes down to the pen mileage or the stylus mileage, depending if you're working physical or digital. So pen mileage is critical. That is how any artist gets good at what they do. I want you to remove the phrase, "I wish I could draw like that," from your library completely. Instead, replace it with, "I haven't drawn as much as that." So when you see an amazing piece of art, don't think, "Oh, I wish I was good like that person. Why am I not good as them?" Think instead, "Wow, that person has drawn so much. They have spent so much time building that library. I have not drawn that much yet. I will, and I'm determined to, because I know that more drawing equals a bigger library, and a bigger library equals better drawings." Okay, so that's number one, is you want to build the hand to brain and brain to hand practice, right? So next up, you want to study games and shows that you love. Literally pause. Pause the TV, pause the gaming console or whatever it is that you're playing on, and study what you're looking at. Think about why you love it. Because hopefully you're only watching shows and games that you love. Otherwise, it's a massive waste of time. But you want to stay in it in a study mode of, that was a really great moment. Let me rewind that. Let me fire that ability again if it's a video game. Let me watch it again and understand why I love it. And then you'll start adding things that you love to your library. Okay, next up, study nature. This is the next big thing to add to your library. Just go out into nature without your phone. Throw some rocks into the water, watch the leaves, how they move on the trees, kick around some dirt and see the patterns that it's forming. Just pay attention and be in nature. This is huge. You'll notice visual patterns, and more than that, you'll build a sense of intuition that you can also add to your library. So the intuitiveness that an artist has, that comes from nature, that comes from a lived experience. You can't get it through a screen, you can't get it through studying in books. You need to go out into life and experience life and pay attention to what's happening around you. Then finally, study the principles. This is the final thing to add to the first step, your library and how to find it. What I mean by principles is essentially the knowledge of other people. So this is going to include things like our free training over on the website, anything that you study online about artistic principles. In fact, there's a great series on our channel called The Artistic Principles of VFX. Highly recommend that. That fits into this category. And then you're adding other people's knowledge to your library, which is also very valuable. Okay, so after you find your library, which is really not something you ever finish doing, you want to find the fun. Times of study should be blended with times of fun. So think of drawing as studying and studying as drawing, and it's all just this experience that you enjoy doing. When we do things that we enjoy, it puts us into a flow state. And when we're in a flow state, we tend to stay in it longer. We tend to practice more. We tend to study more. We get more out of it. It's more creative. So don't be ashamed that, like, oh, I'm just doing the fun things that I like. You chose a fun thing. You want to make art. You want to make visual effects. These things are beautiful and fun. That's exactly why you chose this. If you wanted something that wasn't fun, I don't know, I'm not going to bag on other professions, but you would have chosen a profession that maybe was more like about the money that you made and the consistency versus the excitement and the thrill of creating something new. Okay, so find the fun. And then finally, find your stopping point. This is so important. It's hard to know which effect you want to complete versus which one you want to leave it in its rough state and move on. And especially early on, my recommendation is, if you're just getting started, don't worry about polishing every little thing that you do. In fact, you shouldn't be polishing anything you do. You need to move on to the next drawing, to the next project, and don't fret over the details, because you're trying to build that momentum of starting things, finishing things, moving on to the next thing. And it can be finished if it's not fully polished. A great way to measure this, because sometimes it's tricky, is to work with a mentor. And we've got a few mentors over on our Discord server. They give amazing advice about that looks amazing. Time to move on to something else, right? Versus, wow, this is actually like worth putting in a portfolio. Maybe you should polish it. And I guarantee you, when you're just starting out, you're not going to be making portfolio pieces. That's not what that's about. It's just the practice that you're getting. So you're going to want to move on pretty frequently. Okay, find your library, find the fun, and find your stopping point. And when all that's completed, you're going to be well on your way towards making amazing, beautiful effects that have a great artistic component to them. I'm also going to talk in another video about the technical side of effects, so keep an eye out for that one. And if you want to go check out our free training, that's another great place to get started. We cover a lot of these things over there in the free training, and it's just a great supplement to all these other things I've been talking about to get you started on your way. All right, that's it for today. Have a good one.